la ciencia.
I don't think that's a relevant question.
Perfect.
I don't think so. This is about our lives. This is about American lives. And it should not be partisan. Science should not be partisan.
At some point, the daily drumbeat of depression and terror veers into panic porn. FDR said the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I think the question is,
News sources have to rein it in.
I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
We need the news to calm down and treat us like adults.
Hey, what's going on, everybody, and thanks for joining me again. Today's very special episode. I have a brother from my fraternity in the place, and we're learning about marketing. But before we get into that, I got to introduce my guest. My guest today is the supreme Gucci man himself and king of Starbucks, Jacob Carnow. Thank you for joining me, brother.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm just glad that you're back in town.
That's it. But okay, before we get into the thick of it, because Jake's going to alleviate me from my ignorance when it comes to marketing. But the last time I saw you, dude, was, believe it or not, in person.
Yeah.
At an Indians game. Last year. And what's hilarious, I was laughing about it yesterday. I think it's so funny that the big conundrum of last season was the netting. Do you remember the netting for the baseball stadiums? They kept saying, we need to make the netting all the way down to the home run poles because fans who can't stay off their iPhones are getting their heads clocked in. And, of course, me being the devil's advocate to society was all for keeping the nets where they're at because I go to baseball games to catch balls.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious that whole conversation is moot because now I'm watching baseball and there's nobody in the stands that need to worry about the nets.
Aside from the cardboard cutouts.
Did you see there was a cardboard cutout of a kid in the home run patio and the ball went right through his face?
No, did it really?
I'll put the picture up. But, yeah, dude, it is wild that, literally, like I said, the last time I saw you was at an Indians game, and that's just a dream now. To think, oh, hey, would you like to go to a game now? But we're back, and now we can do this more often.
And the one thing that's crazy to me is having to originally dictate or understand time in semesters.
Don't even, yes, nail it. Keep going.
Right now, the way that I work is on a monthly basis. So I am expected to do certain things every month. So now my schedule is kind of set up. It's like, okay, what can I do in the first 10 to 15 days to make sure that by the end of the month, I've done what I've needed to fill my obligations, to do what I need to do for my job. And then all of a sudden you realize that time flies when you're trying to get something done. And then you realize it's the end of the month, and then you're worried about next month. And then you start thinking, and then you're like, holy cow, I saw a girl post something on Instagram about her fall outfit.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh my gosh, summer's almost over. It's August.
Okay, so here's my question for you, because I've been in the bubble of law school for so long, and at least you've had a couple summers out of college, but also not dealing with COVID. Mm-hmm. I was just having a conversation with some people at work that it feels like this summer, where I have been trapped inside and have done nothing, has gone by faster than any summer I've ever had. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely.
Dude, it is incredible.
Absolutely.
And I want to really hammer home your point of this for me is the first point in my life where I'm not measuring by a semester.
Yes.
And it feels foreign as hell to approach August 20th and go, I'm staying home.
Yeah.
I'm staying home. That just doesn't even feel real.
Yeah.
What an odd time. But again, it feels like time has flown this summer and we've done nothing.
Absolutely.
Wow. So now that we're getting into things, Jake, I'm just going to, I know there's some people in the audience right now, shout out Brian Truckley, who's going to know everything you're saying and is going to kind of roll his eyes at the fact that I don't already know this. But I was telling Jake before the podcast that a lot of marketing, stocks, understanding the market, it's fake it for a layman and somebody at least outside of the professional field. it's like fake it till you make it. You just keep pretending like you know what's going on when in reality you don't. And I know I've really picked the head of my father, and he's got plenty of portfolios and everything else, and even he's kind of like, I'm really relying on the broker to kind of carry me through this. So if you don't mind, I'm going to they always say there's no such thing as a dumb question, and it's true, because even if your question is what color is the sky, it's better to ask it and look stupid now than to keep marching on and never know what the color of the sky is, right? So I'm going to ask you the dumb questions. I know, shout out to Kemp Thorne Parker. I know my boy's going to be sitting there, unlike Brian, going, yeah, this is exactly what I needed, because I don't know. And Kemp, I'm right there with you. I'm saying this is the world I'm in. So, Jake, can you start us off by just giving us the Dow, my understanding is that this thing kind of controls the market. Is that true?
Yeah, so I want to go back real quick to the fake it till you make it, because with financial advising, it's such a personal relationship that you have with someone. And the one place to start, or to really understand, especially with being a new advisor like me, like Truckley, is you don't need to be in the business for 20 years to look out for someone's best interest.
Oh, wow.
The research that is available now is it's so much more than has ever been available. We have more tools than ever to go ahead and get to the point, get to the reasoning of what we're trying to do. So really, with financial advising, it's all about helping people reach their financial goals in a way that is appropriate for them. And the way that that's done is by asking the tough questions, asking the questions that need answers to them. And most of the ways that people are able to reach their financial goals over a long period of time is investing in something like the stock market. There are so many vehicles, there's so many investments, there's so many things that are going to help you get that way. But to your point and your first question, the first thing that people think of when they think of the market are two things. It's the Dow Jones and it's the S&P 500.
Dude, what's funny is you just said something that's a new one on my radar.
Yeah.
You just threw another monkey wrench in this clogged up gears of nonsense. So could you explain both of those for me?
Absolutely. So the Dow Jones is a mix of pretty much 30 of the biggest companies or large cap companies. I think it's all in the U.S. I'm not positive, but 30 big companies that basically say how they are doing is how the market is doing for that day. It's kind of a benchmark.
Okay.
Something that people use to measure what's going on. But that's only 30 of the companies.
And do those companies ever change? Are some added or taken out, or has it always been and always will be the same companies?
I believe that they do change, but there are strict requirements that need to be met by the companies to switch any of them out.
Okay.
And with the S&P 500, as opposed to 30 for the Dow, there are 500 that are within that S&P 500 index. So most people are actually calling that a better indicator of what's going on in the market now because of how much more there is being taken into account.
Wow. Very cool. So what was the SP 500?
The
That sounds like
S&P
a
500.
car, dude.
Right.
That sounds like a motorcycle. What is that? And how does that balance or play with the Dow? Are these just okay? So I guess based off of that understanding of how you describe the Dow, it has no bearing on the market itself. It's just a way to kind of measure or kind of compare. I don't know. It's like a benchmark to measure off of. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
it doesn't add. So here's my question. Before we get into the motorcycle.
Yeah.
I think it was a movie called Wall Street with Shia LaBeouf, and there's all these different interpretations of the stock market. And there's always that machine in like a glass thing that's just like printing a nonstop receipt, and they're like, "Oh, we're screwed now," or "We just won $1 million." Is that the Dow?
I haven't seen that. I don't know what you're talking about. Shia LaBeouf, when I think of that, I just think of Transformers, and then that one meme where he's like screaming into the microphone. He's like, just do it. Just do it.
Okay, so for now, just forget what I asked about. I want to know what that machine is, so I'm going to find a picture of it so I can show you.
Okay.
But before we get into that, so what is the motorcycle, the SP 500?
Well, so the S&P 500.
S&P 500.
S&, like what's it called? The ampersand?
Yeah, ampersand. Yeah.
So the ampersand, the S&P 500, is that benchmark, another benchmark that is made up of 500 individual stocks that people are looking at as a whole to basically see how the stock market is doing for that particular day or for the time frame that they're taking a look at.
Okay. Wow. So
really,
is that taking into account all the companies then? Or?
Only the 500 that are included in it. So the Dow includes 30, and the S&P includes 500.
And does that S&P include the 30 that are in the Dow, or are they all separate?
That's
or
a
is there
great
some
question.
overlap?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can answer this, but is there one that you rely on more than the other? Is it kind of just how the day's going? Or is it like, well, we kind of lean on this one more because it encompasses more companies, or this one because the companies they use are more reliable?
I would say it would be more of, if I'm trying to get a whole picture as to what's going on in that market, every once in a while I'll think that it's probably best to go ahead and take a look at the one that includes the most companies. So I'd say I base most of my thoughts of the market on the S&P 500.
Dude, it kills me. And I'm going to have to find it after this, but it blows my mind. I really was hoping you would know what I was talking about, because I vividly know of this like machine.
You said it was in a
like,
movie?
Yeah, but again, it's in a movie. He's low-key throwing it at me like, you saw it in a movie? Did you see dragons there too? Okay, moving on. So, can you explain to me the difference between a stock and a bond?
Absolutely. Stock is ownership in a company, and the value of that particular stock is determined by the supply and demand.
Okay.
So what people go ahead and see, and let's take like Tesla for example. Just the other week, it was at $1,400, and at that point, people were like, "Okay, I value the price of a Tesla stock at $1,400." And then all of a sudden, Tesla goes ahead and says that they're going to do a stock split. Inherently, there's no additional value that is added based on that news per se, but it gets people excited, it gets people interested in what's going on, and the stock price goes up because there is more demand for it, more people want it, so the higher the price goes.
Can you explain to me what a stock split is?
Absolutely. So let's say that there's a company whose stock is worth $100. Okay. So you own one share of a company that share is valued at $100. They announce that they are going to do a stock split, 2 for 1. So what happens is they split that one share into 2 pieces. So instead
you still own both?
Yes. So you actually own 2 shares, but the price was cut in half. So now you own 2 shares that are each individually worth $50.
Okay.
So you still own $100 in value for that company, but you just own it in 2 shares now.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And so is the excitement in that the hopes that now both of them go up to $100, that the value of the stock builds itself back up to what it was, or is it kind of just now there's just more games, more pieces in the game?
Great question. It deals a lot with affordability. So you're thinking about it and you're like, okay, I can, like, oh my God, I have to front $100 to buy this one stock. Well, then the stock splits and all of a sudden it's one stock that's now worth $50. But like you said, there are more pieces in the game now.
Wow. Okay, so now how does that compare to a bond?
A bond is a promise to pay back, kind of like an IOU. So with a bond, you essentially give someone a set amount of money, and with that, they promise to pay you interest in a set amount of time on a reoccurring basis.
Okay.
So you give someone $100,000 and they say, we will give you 3% of that $100,000 every year. And when it's time for us to pay you back that full amount, you're going to have collected the interest every year. And then we're going to give you back your $100,000.
Oh, okay. And so in your profession, are you dealing with both of those, or is it mainly just dealing with stocks, or
Great question.
is there more? Is there more to this game that I haven't, mentioned?
There's so many more. There's so much more, and it deals with stocks, these things called ETFs, these things, mutual funds, individual bonds, tax-free municipal bonds. Options are a big thing that I get questions about, and it's something that I've decided not to go into. You can reach your financial goals by dealing with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs, but as far as the options, that's where it gets a little complicated and something that is not absolutely necessary towards helping you reach your goals. So I decided to stay away from that.
I feel you. So when your client comes in, it's burdensome, and also, it took you your whole degree and going to school to learn all of those. So it's not something that you could just brush over and explain real quick. So I totally respect not wanting or not even having the ability to explain to every client all of those. So is there, when you sit a client down, is there a discussion about how, well, we're just going to stick to a particular option, or is it a question of, you're going to hand me the baton and I'm going to evaluate your different options and I'm going to determine the best one?
Yeah. It has a lot to do with educating the client as to what their options are and helping them make a choice that is going to be most beneficial to them. Because we're professionals that know what we're doing, but it's ultimately their money, it's their choice, but they're also coming to us for the advice.
Right.
So that's why there is a fine line between giving your opinion as to what's best and then educating them enough to make their own decision. And it's that educating them enough to make their own decision is what I strive to do.
Wow, that's really great. So I guess, can you tell us, really, besides, educating the consumer on all their options so they can make the best decision, what is it that compels somebody, anybody, to seek someone like you in your profession out? And really, because we really kind of just glossed over it, could you air out what your profession is and kind of what that service you offer is?
Absolutely. So I'm a financial advisor helping people reach the goals of whatever is most financially important to them. But even more than that, my goal is to make a meaningfully positive impact in the lives of my clients. If there's one thing that is absolutely necessary, is the ability to build relationships and maintain them. And simply put, that is done by having people know you, having people like you, and then making people trust you. And those are not easy things to do whatsoever. And it's something that takes a lot of time.
Oh, I imagine. So, really, you aired out in the second point the true, I guess, hurdle and I don't know, exercise to your profession. But I would like to kind of flush out more. Your first statement was, what we do is help people reach their financial goals. So again, the layman, I would imagine everybody's financial goals is I'm coming to you because I want money.
Yes,
free money.
I want to make money.
I have money. I want to give you the money, so you go to your money machine and make me more money.
Yeah.
So when that person who is a layman, we've had conversations before the podcast, of somebody who just comes to you and goes, here's my money.
Yeah.
Get me more. When that is the financial goal of the individual, if I'm allowed to ask, what is the first? So again, we gave all these options, and you were saying we want to educate the individual so they can make the right decision amongst all these options.
Yes.
But if I come to you and go, I don't give a shit what the option is, pick it, just whatever's going to maximize the most for me. What is the one, if you're allowed to tell me, that you think is either the most reliable? I imagine amongst all the different options, there's some that are more consistent. There's some that'll they're not as consistent, but the home runs really hit, and where the money payout is grander, but also the fall is grander. Yeah. So what if there is one? Is there an option that you go, this is probably the one that I would lean on the most in terms of consistency, but also maximizing the dollar?
Yeah, so the first question I'll ask you is, what's your time frame?
That's a great question.
Because the thing is, there are always going to be different things that people are saving for. Right now, you may say, hey, Jacob, I want to buy a house. I want to make sure that I have money secured to go ahead and do that. Or you may say, I want to put away money now that I don't plan on touching until I'm 65, retired, and on a beach sipping a margarita. And those two are going to determine the types of investments that I would bring up to you when coming up with a portfolio recommendation. So really what you're going to do is, in the simplest of terms, is find a appropriate balance between the stock investments where you are going to see more price fluctuation or more volatility, that value going up and down, but you're also going to see the higher potential for growth. And then that, coupled with the appropriate amount of exposure into bonds, is going to provide you with a level of security. Because the thing is, no one wants to pay for an airbag until they need one.
It's so true. That's great. I imagine you use that one a lot.
Absolutely.
That's a perfect metaphor.
Because the thing is, the last, aside from what's been happening in the market lately, the last 10 years in the market has just been phenomenal. The growth is just crazy. So you have people saying, Jacob, the last 8 years have been amazing. Why do you have a 20% bond exposure for me when I think let's just throw it all in there? And I say, according to your risk tolerance and what you have filled out and what we've kept up on and the time horizon that you have that you want to reach your goal by, we want that level of exposure into bonds. Because if something were to happen, if something crazy were to happen, like some flu from across the world travels all the way to the U.S. and has every American wearing surgical masks, if anything as crazy as that were to happen, you'd want to be prepared for that, wouldn't you? And you say, Jacob, that's never going to happen. Fast forward to now.
Right.
So
I got to ask you, what does it mean to have 20% exposed in bonds? What does that mean?
And that's a great question. So the stocks that we talked about, that's where we're going to see our growth. And the bonds, that's where we're going to see a little bit higher level of consistency. Essentially, what that means is if we're going to invest in things like mutual funds that contain the bonds or mutual funds that contain the stocks, we're just going to want to see an appropriate balance. I'm not sure if that necessarily answers your question, but what you just want to make sure is that when you're talking to someone about that, say, I want to make sure that I have the appropriate level of exposure into the bond market. And usually what that level or the rule of thumb is, you take 100 minus your age, and that is the amount of bond investments that you should have in your portfolio.
Okay, very cool. So I will say, I'm going to have it on the screen here. Go follow Jacob on Instagram because he has started this really fun way to get, again, the layman like myself and even those that are truly compelled into the field excited about stocks and bonds. And what he's been doing is, for the past at least week or so, and it's going to continue, every day he'll take two companies and put them against each other, and it's up to you to guess who you think is going to do better in the stock market that day. So today was Spotify versus Netflix. And, before Jacob came on here and we were able to flush out a lot of this, I was talking to him about how, for me, he was like, you did so well the first couple of days, and, you must know what's going on. And I was like, listen, dude, I don't have a clue. All I'm doing is just going off of my gut, and today was Netflix versus Spotify, and I was like, well, Netflix doesn't have anything coming out, and Spotify's got Joe Rogan coming. They're developing a whole nother feature with videos to their program. They've got to be on the come up. I was lucky. I was right. So when we had that conversation, we were like, well, a lot of it does come down to just kind of intuition, reading the market, the social environment. That plays a huge part in it. So the question I have for you is, you made a comment earlier, and I see with the legal field, right? So right now, we're doing hearings over Zoom, and there's attorneys that have been in the field for 30 years, and man, you would have thought they've never practiced a day of law in their life because Zoom has thrown them through such, just trying to, the buttons, and they are just logging on has thrown them through such a loop that it's really had an effect on their ability to do their job. So I see it. I see the dissonance between the generations. There's an older generation that would be, they've been in the field for so long. They would have had an understanding developed. They should be the superior ones in the field. But you're seeing younger kids come and take the baton and run because I've had a PSP in my pocket since I was 8. So technology is just easier to pick up, and that is an aspect that nobody predicted, but is helping the field. And I only say all that because you made a comment about how today, the younger kids can have a real impact on a field that has been well established with older generations because of the tools available to us. So I want to ask you, when you put Instagram up, and I'm going off intuition, and I've been lucky, I've missed one so far, but aside from that, it's all my gut and luck. And you said that has a major part of it, but also you made a comment about how, hey man, we've got a lot of tools, more than we've ever had before. So I am curious, give us as much as you can, but what tools are there available aside from just social media, your gut, the social intuitions going on? What else are you looking at that kind of helps you? Again, the way I've always understood it is it's like the weatherman trying to predict tomorrow's weather. We've increasingly gotten better at it, but it's still tomorrow's a mystery, and we're just trying to do our best to predict the weather. So right now, I can look at I am the layman, and I look and go, well, they say, the widows have been saying for 100 years that when the moon is orange, it's going to be hot and sunny tomorrow. And I've been living off of that, dude. I'm not a weatherman, but when I'm going to bed and I see an orange sun in June, I go, well, tomorrow will be nice. So that's where I'm at. I'm looking at the moon, but then there's people with Doppler radars. So I'm curious, what is it? And again, just give us what you can, but what else is it that you have available to you that can help you predict the weather?
Well, it's kind of funny you say that because there was someone that was presenting to us, or presenting to me at my Rotary Club the other day, and someone asked her, she was a recruiter, and she was dealing with a question that was, well, how is the economy affected job markets, and what's the future look like? And she said something like, well, I'm not an economist, so I'm not sure where the market's going, but economists don't know where the market's going. And that's the same thing for the market. No one knows, and that's why it's just important to go ahead and make sure that people are educated as to what their options are, how they should be allocated, so that we can prepare for things such as what we've seen these last couple months.
That's incredible.
And then every once in a while, I'll go, like, I have this portion of my office that is just like a little 3x3 door in the very corner, and I'll pop the latch open. I'll go in there, and I have a crystal ball. Yeah, so I'll dust it off, and whenever
Dude, I was looking at you like, not a door?
Nah, there's no way to tell. What I have been focusing on now, though, is because of all of the market volatility that we have been seeing, I've been trying to get people excited for what's going on. And, you brought up my Instagram, so the one thing that I've realized is you need to get people's attention. You need to get them interested. You need to get them excited, and this is the important part, you need to get them to keep coming back.
That's the key.
I started out a couple weeks ago. I got my favorite Starbucks drink in the world. I will not disclose.
Wait, hold on.
What that
Just
is.
so you know, I'm going to ask you. I was going to ask you off the air, but I was going to ask. I always put like a clip, whether it's a TikTok or some funny video. Before we go into the intro to the show, I put a clip there, and I want you to send me a video. I'm going to put that clip, so they already know what you're talking about. Because I told Jake, every time he does it, it mesmerizes me, and it does the same thing every time, and it's simply a drink. But every time I see it, I'm like, huh. Like, the like Instagram and all those. There's pages and Snapchat pages for it's so satisfying.
Yes.
That is one of them, dude. Like, people chopping up soap and stuff.
Yes.
And that's one of them. Every time I see that, I'm like, and I'm telling you, it wouldn't mean shit if it wasn't in slow-mo. The slow-mo, you're just, the sound, the clunk of the ice, and you're just like, yeah. So please continue. They already know what you're talking about. You don't even need to describe it.
So what I do is I did exactly that. I got this drink, and then I started flipping it, putting it in the slow motion. And someone was like, I actually had a Starbucks barista that somehow she started following me. She's like 4 states away. I didn't even know she was a Starbucks barista. She DM'd me, and she was like, that is absolutely amazing. I never even have thought nor seen anyone do that before. And then I had like 2 other people DM me, and they're like, oh, that was so satisfying. Or they're like, thank you so much for posting that. That just like made my day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like people like that. Like that is something that makes people want to come by my profile and give my profile traffic. And then, and we talked about this, it was how can I share my passion with someone else without them thinking that I have an agenda? Because nowadays, social media, marketing, social media, influencing, it's so in your face. The amount of, I'm just sitting here in my garage, or don't click off this video. It's like, I didn't want to do something like that. I wanted to try to target a strategy that would make people want to come back without even me truly doing anything to ask them to come back. And I think I just kind of got lucky and was like, I chose to do something that people thought was fun. So, and I shared this story with you out in the parking lot before we came in here, but the first day I posted the 2 stocks that went up against each other, and I just take a simple 9:30 to 4 o'clock when the market's open comparison between the percentages of whether the stock is up or down, and then I'll go ahead and post a midday status report. And I like posting 2 facts about each one of the
those were
twos.
cool too.
Because it's just like fun. It's with companies that people know that they can relate to, that they use every single day. And then I'll post the end result. And at that point, that's when people get the satisfaction of saying, hell yeah, like, I got it.
I didn't win anything, but I won.
And just for you saying, oh, I've only gotten one wrong. Like, I love hearing that because it means that you're involved, you're excited about that, and you're also keeping
score. Exactly,
Yes.
100%.
So what I do is, I think involvement is a big thing. Streaming, gaming on Twitch, Mixer, RIP, and then Facebook gaming. If you
Wait. Not to cut you off.
Yeah.
Facebook has started a Twitch type platform?
Absolutely. It's Facebook gaming, and they are.
When did they start that?
It's been months. It's been months.
But it did start like this year. This isn't.
I think so. Don't quote me on that, but yeah.
I have never heard of that, dude.
Oh yeah, because when Ninja and Shroud actually wound up getting released from their contract, because Mixer got, and then Microsoft had to buy out their contracts. Facebook was actually rumored to have doubled their original Mixer offers, which would have meant a total of $60 million for Ninja, allegedly, and allegedly $20 million for Shroud.
Wow!
Yeah.
For Facebook gaming. Now, is it off of Facebook's website? You could literally surf it and find it through Facebook's, Facebook?
Yep, it's one of the banners on the bottom.
Wow.
They're pushing it. At least, I don't know if it's just because the algorithm is hit, so it put it in the banner for me, but...
Oh, it's got to be. I just haven't noticed. I guarantee
Yeah,
it.
I think they're pushing it so hard and trying to get it so that they literally made its own little spot on, the 5 little, options to choose from down there.
So, not to get sidetracked, but Facebook is going to get in big trouble with the government because they said, oh, no, they conducted illegal experiments on humans. They did all these experiments to find out what increases a user's productivity on the website, what makes them engage more with the site.
Yeah.
And they found out that the more upset they made you, the more you interacted with posts, liked, commented, whatever. So they, for the past 4 years, have been creating an algorithm that purposely upsets you. That's why I'm going through my Facebook page and I'm like, I never see a best friend of mine on here. It's always somebody that is the other side of the political spectrum, is saying stuff that just reading it makes my gut wrench. And I'm
But
like,
you
why?
take the time to read it.
Yes.
And it recognizes that.
Yes, and it blows my mind that I'm like, wait, why am I not seeing are my best friends on Facebook?
Yeah.
I never see them.
Yeah.
But I'm always seeing X, Y, and Z, who is a fringe friend I've never spoke to in 10 years, but
Yeah.
they find a way to piss me off every day.
Yeah.
So the only reason I bring up that anecdotal piece of facts is because I cut Facebook out of my life, halfway through the second year of my law school career, and dude, the amount it alleviated the just depression and anxiety, it literally felt like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. So the only reason I said all that is because the only use I have with Facebook right now is conducting the Rethink Tank Facebook page, and aside from that, I don't touch it.
Yeah.
So it has to be there. It has to be on everybody's, and I'm bummed I didn't even know about that because that's really cool, and I'd like to at least check it out because Twitch, dude, I have so much. You know what's funny now this could get me in trouble, but it was on the Rethink Tank, and we had tons of patrons. But one of the fun things we did was they took away sports. Every spring semester, like you said, we were measuring life by semesters. And every spring semester, I got through it by knowing every day I'd come home and there'd be an Indians game on.
Yeah.
So I could read and do my homework, and there'd be an Indians game on. I don't even need to have the volume on. I could just... It was a piece of comfort.
Yeah.
Not having that. I need to create sports. So what we did, dude, we would have 50 people in a Zoom meeting, and I would do Twitch, and I would have the video on as if I was the broadcaster, and we would do Madden simulations. I would do Super Bowl squares where people would buy a square, and we would have a winner every quarter, and the amount of people. So I've been wanting to do that again, and I'm gonna have to develop a Rethink Tank Facebook gaming page because that's awesome. I think that's great they did that. Twitch had a market to themselves, and I was
Yeah.
dumbfounded that nobody was even attempting to compete with it, you know?
You know what's crazy though is that you can take, and this is kind of almost like, in a way, belittling, because you take two of the biggest streamers on Twitch, like Ninja and Shroud, you put them on an up and coming program, and then all of a sudden, boom, it wasn't successful enough to succeed, or it wasn't doing well enough to succeed.
But also, I got to put out there, as I was saying, oh, how cool it is that Facebook did this. I'm also sitting back and going, wait, Facebook bought GroupMe, they bought Instagram, they bought, what's the WhatsApp, the one that like all the Europeans use to communicate through text?
Yep.
Like they literally bought European texting. And again, Facebook might need to fail in a couple things.
Yeah.
Like we don't need the monopoly of you owning and operating everything, because especially since we just rewind the clock just a couple of years, we know for a fact you and your big buddy Google totally manipulated an election.
Yeah.
We could say Russia did whatever they wanted, but in the reality of things, you still control the social climate of our society, and you really dictated our elections, so maybe you don't need to own Twitch, like the gaming
They own a lot.
side.
And to kind of circle all the way back, the main point that I like going back into like the marketing and using the Instagram and trying to figure out different ways to connect to people is it's interacting with those that are interacting with you. And that's kind of why I was talking about streaming, and where I was going to go with that is the most successful streams are the ones in which the people are interacting with their fans, their followers, and their subscribers. It's Tim the Tatman. If anyone's familiar with Tim the Tatman, he is awful at playing video games, and Nick Merckx can go ahead and attest to that. But really, it's just fun. He brings a fun atmosphere to what's going on, and that is why I go ahead and try to really bring up the people that are participating, because it means a lot to me. Truthfully, they're taking time out of their day to fill out a poll that I put up on my Instagram, and I have some people sending me messages like, oh my gosh, Jacob, this is so fun, or oh my gosh, I've only gotten one wrong, or Mario Formica, he hasn't gotten a single one right. And it's like, I would only truly talk to Mario when I would go and visit like Cole or Billy, and we'd all get together. But it's like, part of this, as much as it's kind of been, it hasn't even really been in a way to build my business, because I don't know if this is going to take me anywhere. It's more so just because I'm involved around stocks day in and day out, and I've built what I think to be this pretty substantial following on Instagram, and I haven't posted since I think it was like last summer. And I was just like, I have so many people on there that I enjoy speaking to, that I want to reconnect with, and this has given me the opportunity to do so. And one of the ways that I go ahead and congratulate the people that go ahead and participate in this is giving them a shout out on the next page, and I try to do it in a fun way. So the last one that I did, I tried to put it up in like Lollapalooza, where you had some people that had the really big headings, and then you had some people that had the really small. Just like a winner's circle for the horse races, and there have been a few other ones. I've only been doing it for the last week, but it brought me here. It's connected me with people. And I thoroughly enjoy it. So now, this is the obstacle. When does it get old?
Yeah.
When do you say, all right, Jacob, like, you've been doing this for the last 3 weeks, and nothing really happens from it anymore. So there are two ways that this is going to go down. I'm going to get less people participating, or hopefully I ramp up some of the things, as I mentioned, like posting actual pictures or doing giveaways to try to get me to that level. Because the thing is, these are people that I have a personal connection with that may not have the same interest as doing things like stocks every day. Yeah. So I haven't gotten to the point where I need to switch anything up, but I do want to be proactive in making those thoughts so that I'm not like, oh my gosh, today I had 90 out of 300 people that looked at my story participate, and then a week from now, all of a sudden I have like 32 and like 300 people look at it. I want to keep participation up. I want to keep people coming. But I don't want to go broke doing it. I'm not buying gift cards or doing this just to get people to come back. It's like it would be fun, and I want people to get excited about it. So, I'll let you know, because it seems like you were interested in knowing about what I was doing and how I was doing that. My brother, shout out Caleb Carno, he majored in digital marketing. He's given me a few tips, and he's actually out in LA right now working with Logan Paul.
That is so incredible.
Yeah.
And seeing that, literally Logan Paul was just talking to Caleb about how the page he's running with all the clips has blown up almost essentially overnight.
Oh my God.
Just
it was at 43,000 followers, and I think my brother has gotten it all the way up to 500.
Yeah, over 500,000 people are watching what your brother has created. That is so incredible. And that's the tough part, right? Is okay, that's something I struggle with here, is the only reason I want to do this, and the only thing that's compelled me to take on this passion project, is the fact that, one, I don't see my voice reflected in anything anywhere. But even more so, it seems like speech is getting so stifled that I want to create a medium where I don't care if you disagree. I quit the Nationals and debate. If you want to sit down next to me and disagree, I will happily take on the challenge, and let's challenge each other's ideas. And because that is so, people are so afraid of that. I know right now that I'm playing with a deck of cards that is already stacked against me, that people are already uncomfortable, so they're turned away from it. So I'd love to learn maybe some tips and tricks that, and I'm not saying flush it out now, but there is a delicate balance, right? Where, and I want to bring it back to this because I was going to kind of touch upon it because I really want to get your opinion on it, whether it's provocative or not. I admit that video of you flipping the Starbucks cup gets my attention. Yeah. It's got me every time I watch it, and it's the same freaking thing every time. But what I'm doing here isn't flipping a Starbucks cup, right? So it's a delicate balance of, I know it's got to be short and sweet because people's attention spans are short. And it's got to be catchy because the ADD of the internet is just flashy lights. And if it's not and it's just a legitimate conversation about politics or the economy or society, well, that's uncomfortable and it's too much and it's too long, so I'm straight away. So the question I have for you is, do you ever feel like, and I know don't take this the wrong way, because I know you're posting that video not because of it gets you followers and everything else. You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And it only feeds itself when everybody looks at you and goes, I loved that. And you're like, good, because I did it for myself. I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm glad you liked it too. So my question is, do you ever find a point, or do you flush this thing that you found work out to such a degree that you go, well, I want to be more than this. There are pages where it's literally cutting up soap, or it's flipping a Starbucks cup, and it's like, that's great, but if I have 1.2 followers watching me dice up soap, well, I'd rather have 10,000 followers listen to me actually learn about the market and get down to legitimate topics. So it's a delicate balance of feeding the internet's ADD, but also trying to accomplish your goal and fulfill that passion project. How do you balance those?
It's a great question, and one that I would almost turn to someone that I was recently introduced to, Hallie. Hallie Media and Design is a new company. Hallie just started up. She's amazing. She's great. She's given me some advice, but what she did is her and one of her friends, one of her friends is he's a TikTok influencer and has a following, and he posted one in which she acted as Siri.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it caught on, and now she's almost kind of taken on the persona in some of her Instagram or TikTok videos of being Siri. So I asked her, I said, does this help your brand? Does it help you get clients? Does it help you, build your business? Because I said, some of the people that are following you may not be ones that can actually use your service. They're like my sister, who is 18 years old, or now 19 years old, just watching. She's not looking to start a business. She's not looking to hire someone to take care of her marketing. And one thing that I do think is legitimate is now she has a number associated with her in terms of the following. Now she has the ability to claim some legitimacy, some credibility, and nowadays that's what it's all about, especially if you're trying to make it in the social media world. To kind of touch on your point about like things you could do you have a channel dedicated to just posting short clips?
No.
You need to do that because you want to know why. Joe Rogan does it, and it is one of the most successful marketing tactics. And you know who took after that? I don't know if he took exactly after it, but you know who went ahead and said, that's a really good idea and I'm going to start doing it myself? Logan Paul. That's the exact position that Caleb's doing and helping out with right now.
Right.
Because the thing is, people have a very short attention span. Let's look into David Dobrik. Are you familiar with David Dobrik?
Oh, 100%. And he does I'm sorry, dude. I would. A girl can sit here and make the argument, and I will accept it because I don't have the same hormones as her. But apparently, he's got to be extremely attractive.
David's a good-looking guy.
Aside from that, the dude doesn't. He did stuff during Vine, during that come-up period with him and that girlfriend that he's no longer with that had a Nickelodeon show. What's that girl's? I don't even remember. Regardless, the two of them came up together, making funny videos and everything else. Sure, that we can make the argument that got him where he's at. But when I see he is larger than life right now on TikTok, he's giving away Teslas.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even buy a Tesla for myself, let alone give one away.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is this guy besides a good-looking dude who hands out free stuff? That's what I just wanted to get on my soapbox for a second and be like, this guy doesn't do anything anymore. It's not like he's making YouTube videos. It's every video of David Dobrik in the past 2 to 3 years is a guy carrying around a camera with thousands of girls going, ah!
Yeah.
But he's never making a video like, hey, here I am at the park with the girls, or the videos are other people filming him with fangirls going crazy. And I'm like, is there any other content this dude has or creates?
So, in regards to David, he's everything that he has been doing is for someone else. And when you're truly helping someone, and in the instances where he's helping out individuals who truly need help, it's powerful and it's moving. And I think that that's why he has changed from making super, short, entertaining skits to essentially building a platform, a following, just based on living a cool life.
Like Dan Bilzerian. The same question can be applied to Dan Bilzerian. What does that guy do? He used to make millions of dollars playing big gambling, Texas Hold'em games, that the payout was a couple $1 million. But now, it's like, what does he do besides go to Italy with a bunch of girls in bikinis, and everybody's like, ooh, I wish I was there. And it's like, we always tune in to somebody who is creating nothing. No, that dude is got to be the laziest when it comes to content, at least anymore. It'll be like a 3-second video of him on the treadmill, and it'll flash to a girl in her swimsuit, and then it's over. And it's like, but millions of people have signed up for that piece of content today. But man, if you tried to have a conversation about, I don't know, how liberals aren't liberal, man, it is over. It is over.
Yeah. So I mean, really, I think what it boils down to is like I said before, if people know you, if they like you, and if they trust you. And those 3 things are what is going to get you to where you want to be.
That is a strong point. Those three, that is like the trifecta, and you really got to keep a balance between the three of them. Okay, so one of the questions I have for you is, and it kind of can maybe build off of the conversation you had with your friend Hallie, but it's one of these situations where, what if you know flipping a Starbucks cup is what brings you in, but I want to have a conversation about the market. Do we need to have any concern of the bait and switch of, yeah, I can build this up with the Starbucks cup, but once that audience, it's like what we were talking about of building a stage. It's like, yeah, I'll build the stage, I'll collect the audience, but as soon as it's there, the narrative switches. Well, then the real question is, how many of those people stay? So how do you kind of rectify that? Or are you going to be pigeonholed? Are you going to be making Siri voices forever? Or are you going to be, always flipping the Starbucks cup just so you click over to the next page to vote on who's going to win in the market today?
I think that the stage of life that I'm in right now is pretty cool and offers a lot of opportunities for myself that would be fun to share, and in a way could be thought of as almost like an influencer status. And you're like, all right, Jake, what do you mean by that? Well, I just moved out to Crocker Park in Westlake. So, to almost kind of change my Instagram posts have always been kind of like a lifestyle kind of thing.
I told you for sure.
And that's what you said. So if I can try beefing it back up to say, like, this is my lifestyle, these are my interests, and this is me as a person, and oh, hey, by the way, like, this is what I do. That's the way that I want to build my brand, my profile, and where I would like to see social media take me.
Wow, that's a perfect answer. So the one other thing I wanted to flush out lastly is, it is so tough. I know, just like you were saying about Joe Rogan and seeing the success your brother has had, the clips is where it's at. The attention span is too short. I just released a clip today. I'm going to put it on my Instagram for tomorrow, but it sucks. It's 10 minutes long. I've watched it so many times, and I go, I know it needs to be shorter. 10 minutes is too long. But it was a 45-minute conversation, and I think it's because I think I need an editor. Because I watch it, it's my baby, and I'm like, this is the message I want in its entirety. Yeah. But I also know the audience doesn't have the attention span or the appetite to sit there and digest 10 minutes of really concentrated content. The thing that really sucks, and like you said, we're talking about the stage of life we're in, and hopefully the development of this life, this project's life, develops further. But what stinks is where I'm at right now, I see it. It's like being at the zoo and seeing a lion in the cage. Like, I know that's what I need. I need to make clips. But, dude, here's what sucks is we met here around 5 o'clock. We hung out for about an hour and a half. Yeah. We are going to talk for about a little over an hour. And then I'm going to be the one. So not only am I taking on the ability of correlating the humans to do it, but also the video, all the pieces come together, and then it'll take for an hour and a half video. You'll edit that video for 5 to 6 hours.
Because you got to watch the whole video over again.
You have to watch the whole video, and you're tweaking it and doing all the changes. Yeah. And then what really sucks, and what I've learned is the best I can do with the time I have is one clip per video, where, like Joe Rogan you'd have a 3-hour podcast, he'd make 15 clips, 5 of them would go viral, and one of them would bring in 100,000 followers for him, right? So it's trying to siphon out that one that hammers it home, but also, like, if you're only swinging the bat once, man, the odds of you hitting the ball to begin with, but also hitting a home run is so slim. So I'm not sitting here making excuses, but it's like it's this dichotomy of time, but also knowing what you need. And it's like, well, Dave Portnoy, dude, when he was making Barstool, I watched the Barstool while I was finishing up my last semester of law school. They were doing these like 30-minute Barstool documentaries. And it became so fascinating. It brought me back every time. And I get excited when a new one came out because if being Dave Portnoy isn't the frickin' goal here, then what are you doing it for, right? Like for me, being a Joe Rogan, being a Dave Portnoy, where you are a mogul, and I'm telling you right now, the whole goal is to keep this project up, make its legitimacy, but really to have a Joe Rogan play palace, right? Where I've got archery, I've got, a sauna, I've got my toys, my gym, all of it. It's all paid for, and my friends get to come and enjoy it with me. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And, the coolest part about those Barstool documentaries was seeing how somebody who was typing out a piece of paper and started it off as a newspaper magazine is now, I would argue, one of, if not the biggest social media conglomerates, like as in terms of profiles.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's a profile that holds a candle to what Barstool is and is becoming.
Right.
And the one thing Dave Portnoy always said was he would lie. He would make his magazines and then just make up a name and be like, Billy Bob Joe was the author of this article to make it seem like there's 30 people working on a project that one dude is making.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of tried to do that. I talk about the Rethink Tank as like we and us and as if there's more than just me sitting here doing it all.
Yeah.
And again, fake it till you make it, pretend. But also it's like, to make that next step, you need people's help. And I don't have the funds or the ability to hire people.
Right.
And it is that dichotomy of, dude, I see how social media peddles depression and all of that because, like you said, you did make the comment about how the ratio of followers to following is important. Well, when I told you I never cared.
Yeah.
It took until after college and I'm like, I'm going to try to make things out of my social media profile. Before that, never gave it attention.
Yep.
So there were like 200 people that I knew very well that I'm following and weren't following me back. And it was probably this summer, the amount of people that are like, yo, I love your podcast. I love what you're doing. And I so badly just want to be like, and yet you can't even just click the like button.
Right.
You can't. It is like pulling teeth getting someone like Brian who's sitting in this chair to share the video he is in.
Yeah.
And that's with everybody. And so I understand the hill is more of an uphill battle for me because it's already content that is provocative.
Yeah.
So it makes it more difficult already. But then you've got this dichotomy of like, well, people, it is in the human nature where people don't like seeing people where they came from reach success because that means they could have done it too. So they do everything in their power to, keep you stifled where you're at because they want to feel comfortable being stifled where they're at. And I guess I got on my soapbox here, but I just wanted to make a comment of how like it is in kind of because you've been doing it all by yourself. You're building a brand for yourself, and you've had a lot of success. And again, it's really easy to not upset anybody and get people excited about Netflix versus Spotify and a satisfying video. So would you, and I know this is out of your professional field, but also just kind of just a friendly question of what could you suggest to somebody who is trying to stay true to their content, but also realizes that this thing may never snowball to what it should be because again, I'm not Dave Portnoy was always provocative, posting a picture of Tom Brady's kid's wiener naked, right? Like that was inappropriate, got him in big trouble, but it also made him what he was. Well, again, he was able to do it all, but he had help. And what I'm realizing is it is so hard to even get your best friend who's like, yeah, I'm there for the and they want to be in your Joe Rogan factory. They see themselves, when the Rethink Tank blows up and I will be there. It's like, but I can't even get you to like the post. Yeah. So would you have any advice for, I guess I'm strictly speaking for myself, but advice for maybe, again, I do need to work harder on making more clips, but a way of developing it in such a way that it is still true. Maybe it is the content. Maybe the content does need to change in some respect, but also is there a way to kind of stay true to where it's at, but still do that exercise you ironed out for us of growing your following.
I would say, it's hard because you have people like Ben Shapiro. There are so many people that absolutely hate him. And I feel like you don't have a lot of people at all being like, I love Ben Shapiro. So it's kind of like you're on a scale between, like, if there's hate and love, there's like a lot of people here and like some people here, but like all he needs are these people right here to do what he's doing. So I can totally understand how some people, and to be honest, myself too, would be reserved about posting anything that would go ahead and be connected to me in a way if I'm not totally on board with that. And that's why I was very upfront and honest with you today, where I said I want to make sure that we're not talking about anything political or anything that is controversial. Because there's a time and a place for that, and that's why I just said, with me, it's not now.
Right.
I respect what you're doing, but with me, it's not right now.
No, 100%.
And I 100% appreciate you going ahead and saying, Jacob, I do like what you're doing and what you're saying, and I would rather talk to you about what's going on with you and how I can relate that to me, as opposed to, having to fit your agenda.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with that is, people want to help you. You just have to figure out the way that they can help you.
That's a great response. I really like that. So that's a perfect, and I will take that with me because that's a strong point. Now that we got one last piece on the social media thing, it feels like we're in such an age of algorithms and trying to compete against a conglomerate that says they aren't biased but totally is, right? Like when Joe Rogan had Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, on, like, they really pushed him into a corner to have to concede where they are manipulating the news feeds and the narrative, and it's not just Twitter, it's everywhere. So the thing I'm noticing is you could be a Ben Shapiro, but the machine, the manufactured industry has to put you there. Because I don't think even Ben Shapiro was making videos in a closet and the followers snowballed to where he's got his own studio. I think right now it's an algorithm goes, well, look at this kid. His profile, his YouTube profile is subscribed to this person, this person who we don't appreciate their perspective and narrative, so we shadow ban them. And shadow banning is a term that has become socialized because it's happening. Yeah. So that's the other thing that you're battling, or you as I'm battling, is I could be wrong, but it feels like you can't even, when you say there's a pool of people that hate him, there's a pool of people, I don't even think people love him. I think it's just people that don't hate him watch him. And so I think he's able to access that pool of people at such a large scale because he's been given a microphone that speaks to millions, right? Like people that don't even like him are laughing about when he reads the lyrics to WAP. But yeah, so for me, it's one of those, like, you're fighting against an algorithm, you're fighting against an audience that is afraid to step in the pool and kind of indulge even if they want to. And I think the way out is probably clips. I need to work on that more, find the time for it. But enough of that. I know we wanted to wrap up with this, so I want to hear what got you to where you're at today. And you said you had some anecdotal stories for us along the way, but kind of give us an idea, maybe, a 10-minute at the, give us an idea of the journey and what got you to where you're at, and I guess what you have to offer for those seeking your services. Yeah,
I appreciate the opportunity. So I went to Miami University, graduated in 2018 with my degree in business economics. And I'd say halfway through senior year, I was applying for jobs, and there came an opportunity for me to explore the role of being a financial advisor. And I didn't know what I wanted to be. The names, Deloitte, EY, all those like big corporations are the ones that you think you kind of need to go to, because that's where everyone's going. That's where everyone is making the biggest buck right after they graduate. That's where they're in the cool cities. But I said, you want to know what? I'd love to explore more of the financial services aspect. So it's what I did, and I did all the training. I took care of all of that, and the way that we start out is simply by door knocking.
Really?
Yep.
And what was the pitch? Like, what were you selling to people at their door?
So I go up, and it all starts with an introduction. Hi, my name's Jacob Carno. I'm a financial advisor. I'm out introducing myself in the area today to let you know about who I am and what I do. And then I get a lot of, like doors slammed in my face. And it's understandable. I'm a stranger coming up to their house and ultimately at some point getting into the topic of finances. Finances are one of the most personal things in the world. Think about it. Everyone has a wage that they're making. Everyone has bills that they're paying. Everyone has a number that is in their mind that has the bank account that they have. So, but no one ever talks about it. You don't know.
And everybody wishes they had more.
Exactly. So it all started with that, and what wound up working out is as soon as I started, I wound up taking over an office that actually had an assistant that came along with it. So like that was really cool, and I wound up taking over that branch, but then moving into Independence, where I have my current branch right now, and working alongside another experienced advisor that was in the field for 20 years and his assistant. And that was just so nice because it gave me the opportunity to learn from someone that had been in the field for so long, that knew how things work, that knew how to essentially build a successful business and cultivate strong relationships that are going to last decades. So that worked out, and then he actually wound up retiring recently. So I took over that branch. Wow. So I'm very fortunate for the opportunity that has been brought to me. And yeah, I worked hard for it.
Heck yeah.
It's not easy knocking doors, and it's not easy not only trying to convince those that you can help them reach their financial goals, but also just to be so fresh and right out of college doing this, to go ahead and trust a 23-year-old professional that they can help you reach the goals that you have 40 years down the line. That's a hard thing to do, but it goes back to the first line that I said, and that's you don't need to be in the business for 20 plus years to look out for someone's best interest. We have the research behind us. We have the ability to educate you to make your own decisions. And that's why it goes right back to what I said before. Do they know you? Do they like you? And do they trust you? And now with COVID happening, which you might want to blurb the COVID word for the clips, because YouTube will actually suppress stuff like that.
You're kidding.
Oh, no, totally. Yeah,
You're kidding, dude.
No, really. They'll suppress stuff like that, or they'll definitely demonetize it.
You're serious?
Yeah.
Dude, the amount of YouTube videos, you know how you could tag topics in the video, you get up to 500 characters, and it equates to maybe 30 different tags depending on how long each tag is. And I put in quarantine, I put in COVID. The fact, and I think about that all the time, is how many of these tags are suppressing the video and how many are helping it. Wow.
Yeah, because big streamers or big YouTube personalities like PewDiePie, Philip DeFranco, Keemstar, they'll talk about and with the thing going on,
Wait, they literally won't even say it.
Correct.
You're saying the actual audio of saying the thing.
Oh, yeah, totally. Because nowadays...
Oh, my God.
Yes. Because what will happen now is all of a sudden you'll post a YouTube video, and in some instances it will get copyrighted within the first 5 seconds. And you're like, why is that? It's because some companies have programs that run through every YouTube video that's uploaded to go ahead and see if their music or they're a part of a TV show that is not able to be technically reposted is put on YouTube. And then they copyright it so that any income that would be generated from there is then sent to them, or YouTube itself has their algorithm to go ahead and, absolutely suppress videos that deal with major topics. And that's been an issue with like Philip DeFranco. He's a news channel. He brings topics that are happening right now. So if anything were to happen that would be worth reporting on, would technically not be allowed or recommended for people to watch.
Wow. All right, folks, this is the last episode where I ever use Corona or COVID. It's just going to be the thing. What about Kung Flu? Do you think YouTube? Because I would call the hell out of this thing the Kung Flu. Maybe I'll do some research. But wow, I can't believe that. I mean, I very much believe that. That's why you've caught my attention. I'm just in awe. That is dumbfounding. So again, that comes back to my point of I know there are algorithms and pieces of this medium that have stacked the deck against you. And so it's this delicate balance of how much of what your goal is do you sacrifice to further the rest of it.
And I learned this from my brother is even something like going ahead and instead of having people like tag, like, so if we're talking about Instagram, instead of having people tag other people in your comments, or instead of having people comment on your posts, it's actually more beneficial in the algorithm to have them DM you.
Really?
Yeah. So in other words, if Sally and Joe if Sally is commenting on your post and Joe is DMing you saying like, oh my gosh, like this was so funny, or oh, like love what you're doing, in the news feed, Joe, who's DMing you, is going to see your content as it's pushed out more frequently than Sally would.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why, and part of me interacting with the people that that are commenting on my thing, I went ahead and I commented, or I actually DM'd these people that posted or that casted their vote the first time I did it. And I to the people that won, I said something, and the people that lost, I said something. And what's nice is it actually helped like bring up some past relationships with people that I haven't talked to in a while. So it was nice, like this. But in other instances, it helped me because it was like, oh my gosh, Jacob's actually paying attention, or oh my gosh, I'm not just clicking a button and he's forgetting about me. It's all, and this is thing that I will say until I die, it's all about the experience. It's all about the experience that you get while doing anything.
So flesh that out more for us. What do you mean by that?
So for, let's say, new clients, if they are new clients that I really like, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll go on the Tiffany website. I'll buy a wine glass for both them and their significant other. And then because you're opening up an account with Jacob Carno, you get a Tiffany wine glass. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so then they open up and they're like, wow.
And then every time they use it, they think of you.
Exactly. And then someone says, where'd you get those wine glasses from? Those are different than all the rest. Oh, they're actually Tiffany wine glasses. Wow. Where are those from? Our financial advisor, Jacob. And it's just all about the experience. It's how you make people feel that makes people want to interact with you, keep coming back, and ultimately it allows them the opportunity to want to help you.
Wow. That's really great advice. No matter what field or whatever you're trying to accomplish, that's some really great advice. Wow.
Thank you notes.
Yeah.
Handwritten thank you notes go a long way.
That's true too. Mm-hmm. Do you ever use that at your job or just socially, personally?
Absolutely. Every person that I met that I had a conversation with, I sent a thank you card to.
Smart.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I just heard a story the other day from a coworker that said, "Oh, Jacob, I actually spoke to someone whose door you knocked on." and he had nothing but great things to say about you, and he was so impressed by the thank you note that you wrote him. And in each one, I'm sitting down, I'm writing every single one to that person, and there's something special about that lost art of sending notes, sending letters, writing them.
Well, it's the intimacy of taking the time and actually crafting it for them.
Absolutely.
But again, that comes back to, and it's a perfect point to, where I'm sitting here beating my own drum of like, it's so hard to find the time to do everything. And well, if you want it so bad, if you want the end result, then you'll find the time.
Yeah.
You'll make it happen.
Yeah.
So like you, it probably isn't easy to take on the tedious task of writing out a handwritten note to every person, but you've seen the fruits of that exercise. And so
Absolutely.
it's worth it. It pays off. Wow. Do you have any wrap-up thoughts for us? I do have one last topic that could get us flagged from YouTube, apparently, but I did tell you ahead of time that this was something that I kind of wanted to pick your brain on.
Yeah.
Can you give me an idea, the layman, of where the market was at before all of this? Because we were told it's the best. The economy was booming.
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of where the market was at before the Kung Flu? Where it was at the crack of the bat of the Kung Flu? And I learned today, and that's why I think it's important to report, that we have the lowest case of American Kung Flu individuals than ever before since March.
Really?
Since the crack of the bat, this is the lowest we find. So I literally tweeted last night, I was told at the beginning of June, the second wave is coming, the second wave is coming. Baseball can't start because the second wave is coming. And it finally dawns on me last night, it's like, it's been a month and a half. How long do you need before the second wave is here?
Yeah.
And then it was reported to me by the magistrate today that, and I looked it up to confirm, this is the lowest case. And again, it was so funny. We had the lowest number of deaths in the world, but then, first it was the number of deaths, then we get the number of deaths to the lowest, and they're like, no, that's not what matters. It's the number of cases that matters.
Yeah.
So now we're at the lowest we have been since March of the number of cases, and so I'm curious, with all of that foundation laid, what was the economy before the Kung Flu, during the Kung Flu, and where we're at right now partying with that Kung Flu? So
imagine in January going into February, you have worked your entire life for $1 million. So you have $1 million, let's say, just fully invested in the market. You don't have that airbag that I talked about. You're just like, the market's been great. Let's just ride it. So you have $1 million. All of a sudden, boom, all the news hits. You get down to March 23rd. Your portfolio's down somewhere between 30 and 40%. So let's just take the middle of that. The $1 million that you had saved up is now literally at $650,000.
Wow. It took that much of a hit.
Yep. So then the stimulus check was released, rates were dropped, and then now we are just about where we were back in February.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think we're coming back to... Because again, one, can you kind of air out the legitimacy of this? Because I don't know. But we were told the economy was the best it's ever been. And So, was it? And also, how close to that are we?
That's a question that I don't know the answer to. Like I said, maybe I can crawl in my little door with the room and go to my crystal ball. But other than that, there's really no way for me to answer that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So, would you say we're back on an uptick at the very least?
Or? Oh, right now, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very great. Well, I appreciate you letting us pick your brain. I'd love to get you on here again.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Guys, check out Jacob Carnow. You can find him on Instagram, and you can find him on other social medias. And seek out his services. I'm sure he would do great for you. So, Jake, thanks again for having us on.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. And guys, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Go ahead and share this video and find us on the other platforms. And we'll catch you next time, guys. Peace. Thanks, brother.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate
That
it.
was so much fun.
That was a blast.